Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm there now, but we're also inviting you tomorrow to come onto the campus grounds to get to know more about the Department of Culture and Performing Arts. Culture, Creative and Performing Arts.
Faculty of Culture,
Thank you.
Creative and Performing Arts.
You see that?
I'm in the Department of Creative
And
Performing Arts.
And so you head that department, as a matter of fact.
Indeed I do.
We just got a sense of the energy and the kinds of things that happen in the spaces that you live in practically day by day, moment by moment. Talk to me about what that department does and who is it for?
Well, you saw some examples of expression. Cultural expression is what we call it. But the department, as an undergraduate offering, as you saw, dance, theater, music, film. But our students are also engaged in understanding all the different elements that fit into that. So they do courses in terms of psychology, sociology, business. They're very involved in thinking entrepreneurially, so on and so forth, so that they have the skills to be able to create their own vision. And that is key, especially within our communities, the identities, the histories you were talking about. You were talking about parents sharing values. How do we create now an environment where there are products that help to communicate those ideas? And then at the master's level, we have a master's in creative arts. You can study arts education, which again is learning how to communicate those values, learning how we can create a culture of innovation, creativity, and then entrepreneurship. How can we commodify it? How can we use now what we call the intellectual property to ensure that our businesses are sustained in the creative world? So that's just a nutshell, really.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll break that back in a minute. His name is Andrew Millington, by the way. And so with all of that, we tend to think that the thing I love to do is just the thing I love to do. Why do I have to formalize it through education? Why do I have to bother about this or bother with studying at all? And what do you say to that thinking?
Even with my kids, what I try to do is to have them look behind what it is they feel inside, okay? So my daughter loved to draw, she loved art and whatnot, but she never understood the science of it. Why is it that we respond to certain images in quite the way that we do? So that she created better images. She went on to study other things, and she could take those sorts of skills now, critically thinking, to look at the ideas, and it caused her to think even more divergently. In other words, she could be empathetic. She could think about how other people saw the world and be able to create around it. So those are just some of the things that we try to instill, and why you study the arts, why it is critical to our very well-being. All right, used to say, you need homes, you need shelter, you need water. One of the critical things you need in this life is culture. And to be able to create means that you are sustaining life and you're sustaining society.
Without even know it.
Exactly.
And so, as we were just speaking, in terms of leaving the legacy of a who behind, understanding the space that we operate in, understanding why I would push the table this way and not just lift it, and what that means to from my ancestry to now, and understanding why we eat with a fork and knife or why we no longer eat with hands. All of those kinds of things are what you will look at in that department.
Absolutely, and I'll give you a perfect example. Dance, which is about movement. How peculiar are we in our culture, the way we walk? You go down Bridgetown and you see men walking on the street. That is typical of a Caribbean person, or the way women move in the world. When you begin to study that, you begin to understand how we operate in the world. You begin to think, for example, they call it ergonomically now, how to design for our own ways of expressing ourselves that accommodate who we are and how we do things. And this is a very key, important part of who we are as people and how we develop in the world, both physically and spiritually.
And that's a skill set that's so necessary in so many different areas.
Absolutely.
So critical.
Absolutely.
So even in the profession I'm in, even if you're in banking or any other structural, you know what I mean.
Yes.
We have to understand the psyche. We have to understand the thinking. We have to understand, as you said, what happens behind the curtains.
Indeed.
So that we're able to put on not just the best show, not for spectacle alone, but that we do represent authentically what it is that we're trying to say.
Right.
And so for the critical thinker in any organization, you're saying, don't think that critical thinking is just simply sitting down and doing the theory of. Come into the Department of Performing Arts and you will begin to see things a whole lot differently.
Absolutely. Some of the students are actually looking at your expression and your way of...
Who? You mean you as
Our
a who?
students, we study everything.
You mean me?
Why is it Rihanna cultivates a character,
Yes.
a persona? Not just because of who she is, and we have to go through and think about the psychology and her image. Where does she learn all that? Where does she put all that together? When you sit here and you interview, a guest, you have already entered into their mind because you've done research. Your job is to make sure they're able to express what it is, the message that you want the audience. But that's a science. And that's something that daily you're doing that really a lot of us really need to think more about. How can we be empathetic even in engaging with our friends and our family and learn to communicate more effectively so that we can create the space of, I don't want to say of peace, but when you're talking about care of the soul, we're talking about the care of people, we're talking about learning and doing things and achieving things, we want to be effective in our communication. That's where theater is, that's where film is, that's where dance is, that's where music is. All right, we are learning different ways of speaking to each other that connect on different levels, that connect with a certain emotional language. And that then brings emotional intelligence. All right, that means that we are all now working together and understand collaboratively who's doing what, our different roles to achieve all kinds of different objectives.
I feel so under the microscope. But nonetheless.
You are a perfect example of an inspiration.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Students. But you know, the thing is, I'm watching you communicate as well.
Yes.
And I know this is how we do it in the Caribbean. We talk with our hands, we express with our bodies.
Yeah.
We express completely with the whole of self. But it's to understand that.
Yes.
But there are nuances that could differentiate one from the other.
Right.
And is that also part of the course of study?
It has to be. And you have to know your audience. So I went to a conference once and a Caribbean woman got up to speak. And she used a very religious, we understand when we go to church, the passion that the preacher is going to bring. She was in that mode and in that style. The Western folks, the women, they said, oh, this is a bit too much, even though all the intellectual points were being covered and whatnot. And what they failed to understand was that maybe she did not take to the audience and understand the audience weren't looking for that. But eventually, they weren't, we were able to win them over because they were saying, yes, we have listened to you for so long. Now it's time for you to listen to us, to understand and appreciate how we express ourselves, how unique that is. And really, they could learn a lot from us.
Communicators, this is a course for you. I think all of us in this art form, this is something we need to get beneath and understand as well. Don't just see it as dance and theater and film and all of that. It's the theory of the human existence, and to be able to put that into a perspective that we are able to use it as part of our communication toolbox. And I want to encourage, so oftentimes we hear the creative and performing arts, and we think of those who do dance, who do arts and different expressions, and it's just for them. And I deliberately framed it that way. Who do you want to see in your classrooms?
Well, I tell you who I see already, and they don't even realize it. Two of my colleagues are here this morning, Gavin and Alicia,
the
right?
economists.
Their whole world, I'm going to have to face the music when I get back to them, is based on culture and creative expression. All right? The minute that you talk about a woman taking $10 and trying to budget, all right, what she places in her head is an image of her feeding the family, of making sure the kids are off to school, they're doing homework, or they're doing all these different things, making sure clothes, what have you, all right? There's a way in which you begin to understand how she needs to communicate, how she needs to express herself in that. And that is the economics of it.
I get you. She has a vision. She creates a picture, and
there's
a vision.
Yes.
She knows the storyline, and she sees the outcome because she wants that child to benefit from those $10.
I think you were in our class.
I'm getting you.
This is perfect.
I'm getting you. And so this is what we were talking about when we were talking about the Department of
Culture, Creative, and Performing Arts.
Thank you so
Think
much.
of the link. Culture.
I got that.
It comes then, how creative are we in culture?
How do we perform it?
And how do we perform it?
I get you. So tomorrow, when we come to the UE, we get a chance to understand better what it is that that area is about.
Yeah,
so we want to see more people come. And I deliberately said communicators, bankers, because once we interface with people, we need to understand who they are and how they think and how we can now fashion our communication.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone needs to be a part of this department.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
Or take courses in that.
Or take courses.
We're moving in an educational environment where we're recognizing interdisciplinary is somehow important to how we see the world and how we operate in the world. All right. I'm going to throw in AI here because what happens is that sometimes we think, oh, we're going to lose jobs, but those skills just turned over, and we are the ones who are going to determine what happens with the technology.
My man, you made me smile. We're talking to the head of Creative and Performing Arts at the University of the West Indies, all part of the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts. Andrew Millington is his name. And so you mentioned the use of technology. The current technology that seems to be threatening everybody emotionally is AI, artificial intelligence. But your position, you have a different position. What's your position?
Well, my position is that technology is always going to be evolving. In terms of history, it's evolving at a most volatile rate now. But we have to understand that at every juncture, there has always been a reticence about it's going to take jobs or it's going to do this, we're going to lose our souls, we're going to lose our minds. But the onus now is on the individual to take the technology and to elevate themselves and to control it for its own, for our own ends. Because really, it's there to help us. There are going to be negatives that we're going to have to counter, all right? Before we had this idea of social media, I like Dr. Jones's book, because what she was saying is to counter some of those things, go back to some original values.
Yes.
Go back to our values. Let's figure out what are the skills we have. We are going to determine how the future evolves. We are going to determine through our imaginations what will be. And technology has to be at service to that cause. And if we maintain that and keep that closely in mind and recognize that we are in a society where we need to look after each other and work with each other to serve common goals, and we begin to understand that technology can actually be our friend. And if we use it ethically and we use it wisely, we are elevating our ability to survive and sustain ourselves in the future.
Would you believe that they talk about this in the Department of Creative and Performing Arts? The psychology of it, all of that, they do.
Yeah.
And so being in that department is not just to stretch and show how well you can dance. It's not just behind the lens. There's so much more that helps to shape and form your lived experience. And then you can return to society and be a better contributor to society. And so let's talk a little bit about some of those courses within the department that I just mentioned psychology.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, across the university, sociology, you have to do a science, you have to do law and what have you, because we are looking at the total individual. Mm-hmm. We're looking at someone who has the ability to know how scientists think. How do they come, especially today. Now I'm thinking about it. There's so much when we go onto Google or even AI that we have to be careful of sources and how, in fact, people come to knowledge, how they come to thinking the way that they do. The scientists do it a certain way. Our economist friend Gavin here has a certain way, a discipline of thinking about the world within his own world of economics. The lawyers think a certain way. The artists think a certain way. Creativity has its own way of producing. Once we begin to understand that, we give our minds the ability to be fed with stuff that is salient, stuff that is necessary for us, I keep saying it, for making our way in the world. All right? And this becomes very important because then we begin to look at little things. We begin to understand why our children behave the way they do. We begin to understand why we have a criminal element. We begin to understand all these different, and how do we go study it. All right? The university, I think, gives you an excellent opportunity, to begin to think critically and to offer solutions. Yeah. And because this is the most important thing, and that, it's not just one solution, it's that we have different ideas about how to improve and how to make better our living. And again, going to politics, that's democracy.
Yes.
That's being able to contribute intelligently and to work together towards that common objective.
So if you have that child you see looking and doing things, whether they're crawling up the wall,
absolutely,
this for them. Cutting up paper all over the place, this is for them. Talking a lot, this is for them. And so this is the whole point. And the education at the University of the West Indies, the discipline that flows therefrom, you will find is such a good fabric for our society to thrive on. And that's why we keep encouraging all of you to consider going into the University of the West Indies, availing yourselves of the education and the training of mind there. It's not an indoctrination. It is an exploration of what's possible through your mind and help you to in a responsible way, make some very informed decisions as you go forward. So tomorrow, Wednesday, from 10 in the morning, on the Guild grounds is where you should be, and engage with Andrew and all of his team and everyone else in the Faculty of Social Sciences, also the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts. From 10 o'clock in the morning, children come, parents come. There's an African showcase, there are a Matrix game bus, food trucks, entertainment, everything. It's going to be quite fun tomorrow, but education is fun. As a matter of fact, if you need to know more, go on to the website of the University of the West Indies at KFIL, search for the Faculty of Social Sciences, and you will see what I'm talking about, and the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts as well.
You got it.
Got it. By the end of the day, I'll get it, I know for sure. And so that's where you go, and you avail yourselves of all of the courses on offer. Thank you so much, Andrew.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
We taught life.
Indeed.
And we didn't even get out to dance. We taught life, but that's what it's all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.